So this is another edition of the PK Dixon interviews. Today we are honored actually to be speaking with the CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. Yoofi Grant. He's leading a team of government officials currently in the United States to some investors back home to Ghana. Thanks for sitting down with us, Yoofi. I've been looking forward to this interview.
So do I.
All right.
But we're not just government officials. We are, in fact, it's more like business people, private sector business people. In the delegation, it's about 31 strong business delegation, and a few of us from the government side who, and not even government, but institutions like the Venture Capital Fund, like the Free Zones Board, who are here also to help us bridge the gaps that exist between, Philadelphia businesses and Ghanaian businesses, and also Ghanaian business in Philadelphia opportunities.
I'm glad you clarified that because I'm all about I think that the place of government is to just be government and let people do their own thing, which is business.
Right.
I just first of all want to find out about your sector. The outfit that you run, the GIPC. I think it's backed by statute.
Indeed, it is.
Yes, and I was going through their history. I've seen some CEOs like ABAC and Mauna Treble and everybody. What do you particularly bring to the table?
Well, I think I was chosen because, first of all, I've been private sector all my life, but I've done a lot of support to government through policy initiatives, etc. When the first private sector ministry was set up, I served informally as a technical advisor, and then
that would be in the ex-Kufuor Kufuor administration.
Yes, in the Kufuor administration. I was also on the oversight, was called the Oversight Committee for Private Sector Development Strategy. In those days, we were helping with pooled funds from the development finance institutions that were accumulated for private sector businesses and private sector development within the ministries, the departments, and agencies. So I do have a bit of experience in that area, but I also served as a consultant for the UN in a specific project called the Africa-Asia Business Forum, where we were trying to match African business people with Asian business people. It was a very interesting opportunity for me to long ago, many years ago, before it came to light, trying to match African businesses with Asian businesses. And it took me to almost all of Asia looking at it. But beyond that, my career as an investment banker means that I'm squarely in front of trying to get people to invest or creating solutions for businesses looking for capital or financial solutions. So I believe that I do have quite a fair bit of understanding of where we are. But beyond that too, I was particularly strong in the manifesto of the NPP as a contributor. In fact, in 2012, I actually coordinated the whole manifesto. And then this time around too, I was on the committee that put it together. So I think it's matching private sector expertise to public policy and implementation of public policy that gives me a sort of good feel of the job at hand.
Right. Obviously, your reputation precedes you. Excuse me. I just want to talk about GIPC as an organization, for example. What is it that you're doing that, say, the finance ministry or the trade ministry would not be doing?
Well, ours is pure facilitation, promotion, and actually now going out to look for investors for strategic areas that are important to the economy. The Minister of Finance, that's not his job. His is to fix the economy on the both the macro and the micro level and policy. And Ministry of Trade is for trade policy and industrialization policy. Mine is to go out there, look for the investors and facilitate investment, as well as assist Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Business Development, and Ministry of Finance in the various reforms that we think are important to move our economy forward. Mm-hmm. So what I do is pretty much different from what they do. Apart from that, the law also gives us the power to grant certain incentives on behalf to investors. And those are investors who actually come and register with the GIPC. Not just foreign investors, but indigenous and domestic capital that registers with the GIPC.
You said you were quite, involved with the manifesto of of this present government. I see that you campaign heavily
Yes,
on job creation.
absolutely.
How's that going so far?
I think it's going well. I mean, the thing is, you must have certain policies that create the space for job creation. And jobs, you can't create jobs overnight. And for us, so far as we are concerned, jobs are best created by the private sector. So when you energize and you give the private sector strength and the space to grow and do stuff, they are the ones who create the jobs. It's people's investments that create businesses that create jobs. But apart from that, also having the right policy frameworks that will, like I said, help the private sector create those jobs or do the businesses. So, for example, the one district, one factory policy, which will sort of democratize business all over Ghana, means that for every district there will be one sort of production facility or factory, which would utilize the resources that are native to that area. Now, what will that do? First of all, it will create jobs for the people who live in that area. Let's say there was none there will be no opportunity. But once you put that there's opportunity for jobs. There'll also be opportunity for training and better education because the people of that area want to get the jobs, so they want to get trained, to get those jobs. But apart from that, it will also stem the flow, the rural to urban flow that we see year in, year out, where young, agile, energetic people, flock to the south in search of better paying jobs and high quality jobs, or just a job, So that is going to happen. In the farming areas, for example, the one village, one dam will ensure that farmers can now produce all year round because they have water stored in some, facility, some irrigation, etc. That itself will mean that farming can take place all year round. That means that now the farmers can use the energies of the young ones who are there available, which was not there before. So all these are there, and then the planting for food and jobs means that we have taken an aggressive view on agriculture. And I think that is definitely the way to go for a country that was importing $2.2 billion of food. Whilst we claim we are an agricultural country, there needs to be a dedicated focus on agriculture. And we think that with a couple of these policies put together, synchronized working together, you have a much better chance of providing jobs than not.
And I'm happy you brought up this issue of one district, one factory, because it's something that intrigues me. As a matter of fact, that I feel that, like just as you're saying, it's one of the policies that will propel growth in Ghana. Because I've lived in Ghana virtually all my life, so I kind of know what's going on. Let's move on to talk about other things. I want to talk about, and I've listened to the presentation that you've made. You talked on tourism and finance and all of it. Let's look at the tourism industry. It has so much potential. We always say this, but we never see it, put in that effort to make it generate that kind of investment that we are all hoping that it generates. What are you doing under your tenure to see that, the tourism industry, not just putting up hotels and all of it, but, real tourism is...
Well, first of all, you need to identify the opportunities and you need to reposition them for proper marketing. That's where you start from. And then you need to look for the investment into those areas because the state probably doesn't have the capital to invest in tourism to the extent that it becomes a real economy on its own. And so that is where we are going. And as I speak to you, I just came back from Los Angeles where I spoke to a major group, Stone Creek Partners, who are very keen to invest in projects in Ghana. And these are chaps who were ex-Universal, ex-Disneyland people, and they understand entertainment, they understand tourism, and they are very keen. They are very keen to invest in a couple of projects in Ghana. I brought them to Ghana once. They went back. I came and I just met them just last week to try and put some real action behind the intentions. And they are excited about the opportunity to do something iconic, but also to do something that attracts the market in West Africa, not just Ghana. And they are looking at the Accra Marina project, which is a large project along the coastline of Accra, I think about 140 acres of development, which will put in retail, commercial space. They're also looking, if they get to do that, to put in a real movie, a film studio that can actually help with making films in Ghana. A real proper studio like they have done with Universal, and bring Nigerians to do their movies here, bring French people to do their movies here, but create real opportunity in the sector. Then, of course, I mean, the hotel area is very important, because if you're bringing people, you must have a place for them to live.
Right.
But even more critical than that is aviation, because aviation is a major driver of visits to your country. So how do we reposition our airports? And I know there's a big project to build a new airport, for which many investors have expressed interest. They've come to my office, I've been to some of them, and they have clearly expressed interest that we want to do this airport and increase the throughput through Accra, because as we understand it, we are repositioning Ghana as the beachhead into West Africa. So that's also there. But then we also have other very important tourism assets, for which we are inviting specialized private sector investors. So we have a number of game parks that we are looking at. We are looking at the Mole Game Park, we are looking at Dijab Game Park, we are looking at some assets in Winneba along the coastline, we are looking at the Shy Hills, and they're all these have actually attracted a lot of interest. I mean, I spoke to a company in South Africa that is looking at adventure tourism in Ghana. They think that the Shy Hills is a perfect place to do a lot of adventure tourism in Ghana. I mean, I belong to a group, an adventure group called Brave Hearts Expedition. We do abseiling, we do hiking, we do cycling, and it's a great opportunity for them to partner with this firm. I also know that the Zaina Lodge in Mole Game Park, which although it occupies just a small section of Mole Game Park, the investment was so good that in a very short while they broke even. You know, and now I'm getting interest from foreign investors who are saying, how can we partner with Zaina Lodge to probably do one in the western region, to do one in the eastern region, and expand and franchise it, because it's such a great concept. You know, so tourism is going to be important. And as you realize, the Ghanaian economy, the structure of the Ghanaian economy has changed over the past few years. Services is growing faster than manufacturing, agriculture, and all the other areas. So I think if we get the tourism opportunity right, we get education and training right, it's only a question of putting people's mind to it as a real opportunity. Right. And it's not just for foreign visitors, but indigenous visitors. So how many school kids can we bring to go to Kakum? How many can we take to Zaina Lodge to see Mole Game Park and make it attractive internally? How do we repackage our festivals to gain international ascendancy? That reminds me of one festival that was put together by a bunch of young kids, Chaliwati, that has now gotten international, you know.
I think that's even replaced the Panafest.
It has totally replaced the Panafest. This is a street art festival that started small and now it's now big. And for the 3 or 4 days that it takes place, it just brings a crowd to the standstill, all on the street. And I think such a format, if polished and packaged well, then creates a great opportunity for investment. And I know this year there are some international artists, musical artists, who think that they should come at the time of Chaliwati, so they come to present, they do concerts, because that's a great time to have it, you know. So I'm a firm believer that the opportunity does exist, and we now have a dynamic CEO of the Ghana Tourist Agency that's here with us, who's also selling it, and he has put a lot of energy into the repackaging to make them good investments. To do that still means that you need to understand how to make it attractive as an investment opportunity, so that investors can make money, and yet people can have the fun they want and enjoy.
I like the fact that you speak about this with so much eloquence. Let me know about your strategy. Are you prioritizing the investment or the kind of investments you want to woo to Ghana, or is just anyone comes in with money and hey, come, let's do business? Is that what you're looking at?
Not quite. First and foremost, we have priority areas. That's energy, there's infrastructure, there's agro-processing, and then tourism. But that does not mean that that closes the door for other opportunities. There are some, and coming here to Philadelphia, I was surprised. I mean, there's so many Ghanaian doctors in here. I was wondering, why is it the only doctors who are here from Ghana, So the medical area, the medical field in itself is a great investment opportunity. Education. I mean, and you can tell, when you go to Ghana today, you have a lot of people from the sub-region coming to school in Ghana because they believe Ghana has a better standard of education. We are actually even restructuring the education sector to also focus on skills training. to man the new economy of value added in technology and processing and all that, And those are all great investment opportunities. The financial sector in itself is a great opportunity. Ghana, despite all the number of banks, is still underbanked. So you want financial institutions that will come in and provide specialist financial services. The insurance area is a huge opportunity, and we haven't yet exploited it fully. So there are many opportunities in Ghana. In fact, a friend of mine in the U.S. Came to Ghana a couple of years back, and I remember I was speaking to a group of people, and he got up and said, he's not telling the truth. When you go to Ghana, everywhere you turn, there's an opportunity right in front of you, at your sides, your back, and you're even standing on opportunities because there are so many mineral resources that are there. But having said that too, the resource area in itself is a major investment opportunity. So we are looking at converting the bauxite deposits in Yenahine and Chebi in the eastern region into an integrated aluminium industry that will produce aluminium for the airline industry, for the automobile industry, for household construction, etc., etc. And we are speaking to a number of investors who are very keen to do it. And then we are looking at the iron deposits in the north of Ghana, reputed to be one of the biggest iron ore deposits find recently, which could form the foundation of a steel industry for the construction sector in West Africa. Now, these are all very important. And if you take West Africa, where the delivery of housing is woefully inadequate, indeed in Ghana, we have a deficit of 1.7 million homes, with an additional 20 to 40,000 added every year. And yet delivery has never really gone past 25,000. So that also opens up another opportunity. Now, if we can actually get a steel industry going, we can get an aluminium industry going. Can you imagine what it would do for the construction industry?
Let's talk a bit more about the human resource capacity in Ghana. Do you think that it's well suited to take advantage of any investment that you're bringing into Ghana, for example?
That's a very difficult question to answer because I think comparatively, Ghana does better on the human resource than many other African countries. But do we say that therefore it's adequate? Not entirely. I think what has happened in Ghana over the past few years is a refocus on the qualification instead of the ability. And therefore, how do we review the education sector such that skills training becomes an inherent part of your education? So even if you have a degree, you must have done an internship that gives you a bit of working knowledge or understanding of where you want to go before you probably pass out of university. So what is happening now in the review of the education sector is, instead of turning every technical school into a university, strengthen them to be good technical institutions that will train people who can do stuff. I mean, if you look at the German economy, for example, and in the German economy, there's a lot more prominence on the technical qualification than just a university degree, because those are the guys who do things. They are the people who man the factories, they are the people who do the buildings. It's not people with university degrees that manage, who do things. The people who actually do, and we need to focus on that. And so that has become a focus in the education sector, and how to get people to the education to be focused on the job opportunity, and make such that people can also get better paying jobs, higher quality jobs with much higher pay, and that's where it is. Now, people have always asked what this whole policy of the free SHS is.
I've had occasion to question that too, because I feel that if you're still running those same courses and systems in our schools, giving a free education to a child is not going to do much if that's the same content that they will be imbibing, for example. I feel that before you even thought of it, you should have also considered the syllabus as well.
Well, it wasn't just free SHS, it was free quality SHS. But let me look at it another way, because there's a good philosophical view as to why it's important. Before the free SHS policy, for most kids who go to school, who either do not have financing or funding, or are not lucky enough or good enough to pass the JHS education, that is where the education stops. And every year, over 100,000 kids got stuck at that level and were thrown into the system. Now, that doesn't do much for their future, does it? So President Akufo-Addo thought, he says, look, how about putting the systems that make sure that at least every Ghanaian has the chance of having up to secondary school education as the basic education they have. So instead of people stopping at JHS, they'll stop at SHS. Do you know what that does? At least it gives people a better chance of being able to decide for themselves at the ages of 17, 18, 19 than it does when they are 13 and 14 and fall off the education ladder after JHS. And that will therefore create a pool of resources that you can better train, better give opportunity to. That can't be a bad thing. Indeed, it's a great thing. When you find out that at least every Ghanaian has a chance of having a secondary school education. Indeed, I read some statistics not too long ago that out of every 100 kids that go to kindergarten, only 7 graduate from university. And out of the 7, only 1 gets a great job. That cannot be the statistics a nation should rely on to build itself. It cannot be. We need to change the mix. We need to change the thinking. So President Akufo-Addo's view was that, look, if people leave school at secondary school level, they have a better chance of understanding what the future holds for them than letting them get out on the streets at 13, 14 and finding them on the streets. It's a national security issue as well.
It is a national security issue if you think about
Right.
it. But now let's go back to your life as a private, as an investment banker and everything. Do you still believe that, it's the place of government to be still involved so actively in business and commerce and everything? Because I'm looking at a situation where Ghana still has a lot of, state-owned enterprises and they are not doing well.
That's true. Well, yes, but not to the extent that they will be the principal actors. What government ought to do is to create the environment such that private business can thrive. Bear in mind that government is already a partner in every business that's registered, and that's why you pay tax.
Which is true.
Yeah, government is already there. But that tax is to enable government to create the environment for you to lower your cost of doing business. And if through that partnership doesn't happen, then they need to go one step further, create conditions that lowers the cost of business. The more recent addition to this equation, for which GIPC is a leading role, is that how do we lower the cost of business? How do we lower the cost of entry into business? How do we make it cheaper for people to engage in business at the front end? So how can we make it easier for people to invest? And then when they invest and start running their businesses, then you tax them. But to put the taxes up front makes it more difficult for businesses to grow, especially recognizing that most of our businesses are SMEs and SMIs. So a lot of the policy reform is to reduce the cost of doing business, remove the upfront cost of doing business, and the more investors you have in your country, the more businesses you have. The more businesses you have, the more opportunities for jobs. The more jobs that are taken, the more the chance of people becoming wealthier. So it's a comprehensively thought through value chain approach to solving the jobs issue, but also to make the country the best place to do business in Africa. That is the objective.
Right, 2 final questions, Yoofi. One concerns you as the Chief Executive Officer of the GIPC. I want to ask you, at the end of your tenure, what are you hoping to have achieved as somebody who came in from the private sector, very much involved in investment banking in Ghana? What do you hope to have achieved out of I don't know how long you're going to stay in office.
I don't know either. Well, I mean, it's a very interesting question because I've asked myself that question many times, and my goals keep getting bigger and bigger as I think that there's greater opportunity for us to really bring true change to an African country and make it a shining light of development. So for me, I sit down and think that, and I've said this in many places, how can we be a cocoa growing nation for over 200 years and we haven't made one billionaire out of cocoa? How can we be a gold exporting country with great gold potential in the ground and we haven't created one Ghanaian billionaire out of gold? So I keep saying that, what can I do in my tenure such that we can have a number of real Ghanaian billionaires and millionaires. Because the more of that we have, the more businesses they will create. The more the more chances other young people will also be inspired to go into business and create more for wealth and grow the economy. So that's one. One of my first goals was, okay, so the average investment we've attracted year on year is between 2.5 to 3 billion averagely. How about setting a target for 5 billion and chase it? So that's another one that I have in mind, that's what we need to do. And investment is critical for us at this point where there's no fiscal space for government to invest. You have to actually go out and look for investments. But you also need to be prepared to give and take a little bit. What are we going to do to make it attractive to invest in Ghana? And that's why we are undergoing all through these reforms. But what is it that we are also doing for the indigenous Ghanaian investor and businesses to try and lift them up, push them up, such that they can grow to become global competitors? Can we identify businesses that are already on the track and give them support to grow and create more businesses? Can we look for partnerships that have at the end bigger businesses while not ignoring the small SMEs and SMIs and moving them up the value chain of the commercial, train or ladder? How do we do that? Because that's how a country develops. You have to keep pushing people up, whether it's your own people or attracting more investments, that you can have more partnerships with indigenous business people to grow. And I'm very delighted that in this meeting today, I'm hearing a lot about people wanting to partner Ghanaians and doing things in Ghana. That got me ecstatic. I'm very happy to hear that they're actually looking for Ghanaians to partner with to do business in Ghana. At the same time, also looking for trade opportunities between Ghana and Philadelphia. I don't think it can get better than that. That's a very interesting thing to get done. Right. So I am very delighted, and I'm very happy having come here.
Right. And the very final question is, I see that you're a very significant member of the current government, the New Patriotic Party, and as you mentioned, you are actively involved in the drafting of the manifesto. So if it fails, I don't know, but I wish that, I hope for all the best for you. I hope that you don't fail. The people of Ghana, do you think that your government is on course to delivering whatever promise they made during the campaign season?
We better be, and I believe we are. I'm sure you heard in the first budget read, there was an aggressive reform in the tax sector where 15 taxes were removed because they were nuisance taxes. It brought back a lot of money into the business sector, 1 billion cedis out of government forfeited 1 billion cedis back to the private sector for people to do business. We are also aggressively pursuing tax reforms to open up the business sector. We are aggressively pursuing reforms in the ease of doing business, such that a lot of things can happen quicker and faster and more efficiently. And I strongly believe that this government, ideologically, first of all, is a pro-business government. And so our immediate remit is, how can we make business grow? Making business grow is making the economy grow. The bigger your private sector grows, the faster your economy grows. The more taxes government can collect, the more government can do its job. If you don't make it easy for businesses to work and make their money, then you have a smaller chance of increasing your tax revenues. Because you can't grow, and the president has clearly said it, the Minister of Finance has clearly said it, we can't build an economy on taxes and debt. We have to build an economy on production and growth. And the president has also re-echoed many times that this is an economy that is definitely moving away from aid and going into trade. And that is exactly what our policy initiatives are all, focused on. Whether it's one district, one factory, or whether it's one village, one dam. Did you know that Japan has one village, one product as a policy?
That's news to me.
Yeah, So those are the things that we want to pursue because they have real impact lower down the value chain for our small businesses. They really do have impact. But at the end of the day, what for us is even more critical is that we re-establish Ghana as the business beachhead in West Africa. If it means that we need to really, really empower our indigenous business people so that they can grow, we need to do that. And it's not a promise, it's a plan. It's a plan that you take step by step, you do one thing at a time to let it happen. And I do agree that way back home, because this party, the NPP, currently in government, campaigned aggressively, I think it gave a lot of hope to people. But when you do that, then the expectations are also high. You know, the expectations are high. And you have to really draw a balance as how to do it. Because you can't be too aggressive, because when you're too aggressive, you will hit roadblocks because, you know, you're driving people too hard. But as the president says, we are in a hurry. We have a unique chance to change Ghana once and for all and not go through these boom-bust cycles of the economy where it gets better, then somebody else comes, it gets worse, then somebody else comes, fixes it, then it gets better. You can't allow that to happen. You want stability in our growth that will give real hope to people, both in and out, and get Ghana the great partnerships it wants. What I can tell you is that going round in my job, I see that the goodwill is there from the international community. There is a lot of goodwill for Ghana. I don't know what it is about Ghana. It's just a cool country, full of cool people. And therefore, we find it easier to endear ourselves to other people than most other Africans, I can say. And at the end of the day, our democratic credentials sells us. The fact that Accra and Ghana, Kumasi, Takoradi, peaceful cities, we are relatively very peaceful. And that's what the investor wants. If there is political stability, there's a semblance of economic stability, there is peace, then you have a greater chance of attracting investment. If there's another country that offers a higher return but does not offer peace or stability, it's a riskier place to invest your money. And I think Ghana has sold itself and has repositioned and is reaffirming that it's the place to be. We have political stability. We have some semblance of economic stability. At least we've weathered the storms much better than others, although our GDP growth really declined over the past 5 years. And this year we are looking to increase it back to 6.3. I think that, yeah, we are a cool country. We are a country on the go. As I say in my office, this is a Ghana on the go. And we are not looking back.
So, in other words, Ghana is open for business.
Absolutely.
Right.
We are open for business, and we invite people to come in, look, discuss with us, and see how best we can support them grow their businesses. We are growing their businesses not just for Ghana, but for West Africa. A population of more than 350 million, with a combined GDP of above 700 billion. I think we are ready.
Thank you so much for talking to me, and all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you so much.